In this video, I'm going to show you how I take my dahlia cuttings. Now, bearing in mind, I had already had one tuber, which I separated into three, and then I started those three divided tubers on the windowsill indoors in a pot here, and that's what you've got here, the three tubers in this pot here, which have sprouted. I started those about February. Then I'm now taking cuttings, and I end up taking 9 cuttings from these three separated tubers, which means I've made 12 dahlia plants from one tuber that I had from last year. So that's pretty good to make 12 new plants in one season that will all flower this summer from one dahlia tuber. Well, before I get on to how I did it, first of all, you can still do this now. You can start your dahlias now and you can still take cuttings from them. There is time. You can even divide the tubers. As long as you've got an eye and a root on each tuber, you can still do all that. So just because I started mine by dividing the initial tuber back in February doesn't mean you can't still start yours now and take cuttings in time for summer. They'll just flower a bit later. So let's get on to the taking of the cuttings. If you want to watch my other video, by the way, I'll link that on dahlias, how I divided them, what I was doing, what my plans were. I'll link that below. All right, so here's how I did it. I'm going to put the cuttings in this sort of cell tray here. I think there's 9, just have to quickly count. But you don't have to use a cell tray. You can use a pot. When I finished taking cuttings from the mother plant, I'm actually just going to pot the mother plant up to grow on. She's then going to take, just bulk herself up. So she'll go in this black pot. If you don't have cell trays, you can just pot them in these an ordinary pot and just put the cuttings around the sides of the pot. So all dahlias grow differently, and I specifically picked this one that was a little bit more tricky because I thought, if you've got an easy one, then great, that's going to be easy. But if you've got one like this, you're going to be, watching dahlia cutting videos and thinking, well, mine doesn't look like this. So I picked this one specifically. And then what I did, as I identified a stalk that I could actually just take without, accidentally cutting off another stalk or another stem. And I was able to take with this a little bit of the mother plant. I'll show you this again, don't worry. And then I'm just reducing the size of the lower leaves to make sure that all the energy goes into producing roots, and just to stop the cutting drying out through transpiration, by reducing the surface area of the leaves. That will reduce the moisture loss through the plant and help it to stop drying out. Then I plant it straight into this compost, which is very wet because it's actually been outside, so it's really wet. But you would normally want it to be moist anyway. And it has some sharp sand to help it be free draining, because those roots are going to be fine and delicate when they start. So you need to give it a chance. You don't want some sort of concrete compost or soil, and those roots will never have a chance to break through. So here's another one. You can see me trying to separate one. It's really hard to film because there were so many different shoots, and I'm trying to just get a little nick from the mother plant as well, so that it'll have all those hormones and energy from the mother tuber, just a tiny little bit of it on the end of the cutting. You don't have to do this, so if you were to accidentally cut it without a bit of the mother plant, you could still try turning that into a cutting. Okay, you can see a little chunk of it there. And then you would just, as I said before, you reduce these lower leaves. They're not needed. They're just a waste of energy for this plant right now. And we're just going to keep the top 2 leaves, but we're going to take out the center stem as well, so that will drive, instead of a plant growing up and up into the sky, it'll just drive the energy back down into the roots for now, until the roots are good and strong, and then all the energy will start going back up again into the plant to create that plant again. There it goes into the stem. So I just carried on just trying to identify cuttings. I mean, another thing about this, taking these cuttings, is it does make the flowers on the mother plant better, a better size. They can put more energy into the flowers that they've got, into the stems that they've got. In other words, by taking cuttings, taking these stems off the flower, there isn't so much pressure on the flower to make, hundreds on the tuber, sorry, to make hundreds of beautiful flowers. It just has to make, say 10 beautiful flowers, which then you cut, and then it'll make 10 more beautiful flowers. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you had, if you weren't sort of thinning out those stems, that's a lot of flowers that the tuber has to deal with, and they may just be lower quality. You don't have to do this, by the way. They will still flower beautifully, but it's just a management process, I guess. It's a way of increasing your stock and managing the quality of the flowers and the plant that you're going to get at the end, at the end of the day. But none of this has to be done. You can just buy the tuber from the shop and start. If it's your first year, that's exactly what I would recommend you do. Take your tuber, pot it up somewhere warm and sunny where it's not going to get frost, and then just see what it does in the first year. If you really like it, then next year watch these videos and do these cuttings, and then you're going to have 12 of that lovely dahlia. So here they are all done, and they're going to go in the greenhouse. They're going to go as close to the heated seed bed as I can. If you want to see my heated seed bed video, I'll link that below as well. That's all for my dahlias, but I didn't make it big enough, it turns out. So that will go on, it'll go next to it, so it'll get some radiant heat, but it's ever so warm now. I've checked the forecast. We're not due any frost. We're due pretty low temperatures the weekend, down to sort of 1 or 2, which isn't 0 here, which isn't frosty. And then after that, we're getting some balmy April weather. So it should all be good here now, here in the UK. We've had a very warm winter, spring, and so everything is doing pretty well. These are the dahlias on the seed bed. Right, so then to finish off, all I did was I potted up the original tubers that I had on the window ledge, and of course, because I separated those into 3, I had to pot 3 of those up in separate pots. 2 I've potted just in ordinary black pots to grow on, and 1 I thought, oh, I might just grow this in an actual pot for some container gardening. And so I potted that in a terracotta pot. This one here in the black pot, you can see I was ambivalent. I'm not sure. I might take some more cuttings from it. We'll see what comes. If it grows any bigger or any more shoots, I may take 1 or 2 more cuttings from it. Otherwise, this one will just go back into the greenhouse to grow on. So that one's in there, and then there was another smaller tuber I took, which I put in a smaller pot, obviously, and then the main mother plant I decided to pot into this terracotta pot because I think I may add this to my container gardening part of the garden. And so I chose this terracotta pot because I think it'd be about the right size, right proportion. I love the fact that it's cracked and a bit broken. I use a bit of the broken bit actually to put in the bottom to help drainage over the hole. Don't be afraid of pots that are cracked and broken. It all adds to the character of a cottage garden, which is a kind of make do and mend garden, as well as obviously a healthy sort of organic grow your own sort of garden. So that's going to go also in the greenhouse to just grow on. And if it does outgrow the pot, then I'll pot it onto a bigger pot. But I think it's going to be okay in here. And so that's it. That's the dahlia cutting and how I sort of quadrupled my stock. So I started that video back in February, and here's a follow-up video taking some more cuttings. I hope it helped. I hope you can increase your stock. And if you're nervous, just don't do it this year. Do your cuttings next year. Just buy your tuber, grow it on, make sure you can look after that tuber, get it to flower, save it over the winter and store it over the winter. Then next year, now you've got a bit more confidence, you know what's going to happen with this dahlia and how it's going to grow, then you can start thinking about propagating it and quadrupling or tripling your stock. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and all that jazz, and check out my website because I am uploading new gardening blogs on there as often as I can. I'm trying to do them daily, but it's pretty difficult doing videos and blogs daily. But there you go. There's lots of information on there. That's at www.jillbretherton.com. See you again in my next video. Bye.